Hello from Mindset Daily, wishing you a day full of health, peace, and happiness. Thank you for watching the Mindset Daily channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support us. Thank you so much.
Have you ever wondered why so many people keep waiting for the perfect moment that never comes? What if the real secret was that power doesn't wait? It begins the instant you decide to act. And what if the only thing holding you back is the permission you never gave yourself? You hesitate, waiting for the right time, the perfect plan, the clear path. But strength doesn't wait. You become unstoppable the very moment you decide to be. Why? Because action creates belief. How? By walking, speaking, and thinking as if nothing can hold you back, until even your doubts give up. In just moments, you'll learn how to train your mind and body to move with unstoppable confidence and intent. You become what you believe you are. You don't rise above your self-image. You may dream of greatness, but if deep inside you see yourself as limited or incapable, then that is exactly where you will remain. You can gather knowledge, shake hands with opportunity, even stand at the doorstep of success. But if you don't act as if nothing can stop you, you won't walk through the door. Most people don't fail from lack of potential. They fail from lack of permission they never gave themselves. You wait. You hope someone sees you. You long for approval. But power doesn't come from waiting. Power begins when you decide, I will walk like I belong. I will move as if the outcome is already mine. You must begin to act like the version of yourself you claim to be. Start walking with the certainty of someone who has already paid the price. Speak with the conviction of a man who has tasted success in his mind long before touching it in reality. Imagine this. You walk into a room, not with arrogance, but with calm certainty. You look around and feel no need to prove anything. You've already chosen your direction. People sense it. They follow it. Ask yourself this. How long will you let doubt dress you each morning? Why wear fear like a second skin? What if, for just 1 month, you acted as if you were meant to win? Who would you become if failure was never an option? Nothing changes until you do. The world isn't waiting to shift. It's waiting for you to become someone it cannot ignore. You think circumstances shape you, but they only reveal you. You can keep waiting for the right time, but understand this. Time never arrives wrapped in comfort. It shows up as pressure. You keep saying, once I feel more confident, I'll act. But that's not how it works. Action builds confidence, repetition builds mastery, and mastery builds belief. Every day you delay, you reinforce the false idea that you are powerless. But you're not. You become unstoppable the moment you decide, I don't care if I'm ready. I'll move anyway. Change doesn't wait for permission. It demands transformation. You must grow into the kind of person your future requires. Now picture this. You rise early, not because you must, but because your mission calls to you. You write your goals by candlelight. You practice when no one is watching. You face challenges even while trembling, because fear no longer gets a vote. How long will you keep negotiating with hesitation? How much of your life will you trade for comfort? What if, instead of preparing forever, you simply began? What if you acted not like a beginner, but as the man becoming exactly who he said he would? The world respects the one who moves without noise. There is something unshakable, even terrifying, about a man who walks with silent certainty. He doesn't boast, he doesn't beg, he simply moves. While others announce their plans, he builds. While others chase applause, he sharpens in private. And when the results appear, no one saw him coming. The world will try to drown you in noise, to bait you with attention. But the truly unstoppable man isn't here for attention. He is here for ascension. He trains when it's dull, endures when it's thankless, and stays loyal to the vision even when no one else believes. You must become this man. Learn to act without explanation, to decide without defense. Your power isn't in how loud you speak, but in how consistently you move. Imagine this. You work alone, you plan alone, and no one asks what you're doing because you're not broadcasting it. Then one day they look up, and you're miles ahead. You didn't ask for recognition, you built momentum, and now they cannot ignore you. Ask yourself, do you need to be seen improving, or are you content becoming? Can you stand in silence while others talk, knowing your time will come? What if you trained with the intensity of a man preparing for something only he believes in? Decide what you want, then burn the boat. Most people don't fail because their goal is too big. They fail because they kept an escape route, a plan B, an excuse. But if you truly want to act as if nothing can stop you, you must remove every option except forward. Once a man decides, truly decides, he becomes dangerous. He stops waiting for things to align and begins aligning himself. He stops asking for signs and starts building his own. When you decide what you want and erase retreat from your vocabulary, you unlock a different power. No more wandering, no more maybe, only forward. Imagine this. You write your goal on paper, seal it in an envelope, and tell no one. From that moment, every step, every hour, every setback becomes part of the contract. You can't run now. You've burned the boat. There is no going back. What would change if you never entertained doubt again? If you lived each day with the urgency of someone who knows there is no second chance? Could it be that success has been waiting on your decision all along? Master your inner voice, or become its slave. The most dangerous enemy you'll ever face isn't out there. It's inside your own mind. It doesn't attack with weapons. It whispers, "You're not ready. They're better. What if you fail?" That voice doesn't shout, it doubts. And the tragedy is, most people believe it. They mistake fear for caution, hesitation for wisdom, and retreat thinking they're being smart. In reality, they're ruled not by truth, but by a ghost in their head. Your thoughts are not facts. They are echoes of past mistakes, old voices, and people who quit before convincing you to do the same. Most of what you think is just noise you absorbed, never questioned, and now confused for your own voice. But here's the truth. If you don't control that inner voice, it will control you. You either train it, or it trains you. You must become the commander of your mind, the way a soldier trains his body. You drill your thinking. Fearful thoughts will come. They always do, but you refuse to entertain them. You intercept them. You replace, reframe, and reprogram. You stop saying, "I can't," and start saying, "I will." You stop asking, "What if I fail?" and start declaring, "What if I win?" That shift, from fear to force, is how a weak mind becomes a powerful one. It begins with your words, and your words begin in your thoughts. Picture this. That same voice rises again, doubt, worry, insecurity. But this time, you don't follow it. You pause, take a breath, and say, "Not today." You return to your goal. You keep moving. You take one more silent step. You don't wait for your mind to feel ready. You train it to obey. That is how mental discipline is built. Not through bursts of inspiration, but through clear instruction. You lead your mind the way a general leads an army. So ask yourself, when your mind speaks, who is in control? Is it you, or the noise that runs unchecked? If those same thoughts were spoken out loud by someone else, you're worthless, you'll never make it, you're too late. Would you tolerate it? If not, why tolerate it in silence? Why make your own mind your enemy? You only have two choices: lead your thoughts, or follow them into mediocrity. There is no third option. Rule your mind, or be ruled by it. It's that simple. Build discipline as if it were your greatest wealth. No one is born disciplined. It isn't a gift. Discipline is a construction site, built brick by brick, decision by decision. It grows each time you say yes to difficulty, when no one is watching, when you choose effort over ease, not once, but again and again. Every day your mind will offer comfort, and every day you must decline it. Until you create that inner wealth, you'll keep borrowing motivation from others, reassurance from outside voices. But anything borrowed can be taken away. Discipline is the one currency no one can steal. It's quiet, invisible, but unshakable. A man with it can walk through fire without flinching. A man without it collapses under the lightest drizzle of inconvenience. Discipline is the difference between wishing and becoming. It's the bridge between the life you imagine and the one you actually create. Without it, dreams remain distant mirages, always just out of reach. Most people treat discipline like punishment, believing it's restriction. But the truth? Discipline isn't a cage. It's freedom. Because once you learn to obey yourself, no one else can command you. No excuse can sway you. No temptation can own you. You become immune to distractions because the decision was already made. You don't follow feelings. You follow orders from the higher version of yourself. Picture this. You rise early, not because someone demands it, but because your mission calls. You don't hit snooze. You don't negotiate. You simply say, "This is who I am." When temptation appears, you walk past it as if it doesn't exist, because to you, it doesn't. Your mind is already trained. You've already won the battle before it begins. So ask yourself honestly, can you trust your own word? When you say I'll do it, does it actually happen? Or are you always starting over, always trying again, always explaining why it didn't work? What would your life look like if your habits worked even while you rested? What if your discipline ran on autopilot? That's not fantasy, it's built. But only if you stop negotiating with laziness. Only if you stop letting today's comfort steal tomorrow's greatness. Another year of delay is simply another year of regret. Discipline isn't about pushing harder. It's about becoming consistent. It's about keeping promises to yourself, especially when no one is watching. That's how trust is built and freedom is earned. Not through raw willpower, but through training. And it starts now. Walk into the room as if you already own the outcome. From the moment you enter, people feel your presence. Not because of the clothes you wear or the title you hold, but because of the energy radiating from you. That energy speaks before you do. It reveals whether you're confident or uncertain, whether you belong or question your right to be there. People read you instantly, your shoulders, your pace, your eyes. If your posture carries apology, you'll be dismissed before you ever speak. But when you walk in grounded and steady, the world notices. Hesitation may feel hidden to you, but it's obvious to everyone else. The world doesn't bend to the unsure. It responds to the centered. Not to the loudest voice, but to the one who moves with intention. Confidence isn't noise, it's precision. Those with quiet power don't need to convince anyone. They've already convinced themselves, and the rest falls into alignment. The secret lies in preparation. Inner work creates outer influence. When you've rehearsed success in your mind, seeing yourself making decisions, shaking hands, standing tall, there's no need for bravado. You don't walk in to beg for approval. You arrive to execute. The result is already written in your mind. So you move with the calm of someone who's read the final page and knows it ends in victory. It begins with posture. Upright but not tense, still but not stiff. Eye contact steady, not aggressive, but clear. Your body language says, I know why I'm here. You don't fidget or apologize. You don't shrink to avoid judgment. Instead, you expand, you breathe, you let silence serve you. Every move either commands respect or invites dismissal. There is no neutral. You're always telling the room something. So make sure it's exactly what you intend. Now picture this. You're in a negotiation. You may not be the wealthiest in the room or the most experienced, but none of that matters. You're grounded. You've prepared mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. You've written about this moment, visualized it, even prayed for it. And now that it's here, you don't hope, you act. You sit calmly, speak clearly, and the room senses it. You're not reaching, you're claiming. Your certainty is so unshakable that others begin to adjust around you. Ask yourself, do you wait for the right time to speak, or do you believe your voice already matters? Do you shrink under pressure, or step forward with resolve? Every day, you teach people how to treat you by how you carry yourself. If you walked into every room as if your presence carried weight, what doors would open? Confidence isn't a performance. It's a decision to move as if the world needs what you bring, because it does. And once you own that truth, the entire room shifts. Not because they granted you power, but because you stopped asking. Let your work prove your worth. Too many waste energy trying to be heard, raising voices, exaggerating titles, making noise, hoping it sounds like power. But real authority doesn't shout, it's felt. The man who cannot be ignored never forces attention. His presence speaks because his results are undeniable. Respect isn't won by demanding it. It's earned by producing outcomes so clear no one can deny them. The loudest man in the room is rarely the strongest. Often, he's the most insecure. Value isn't something you announce. It's something you prove. Every decision, every task, either builds your name or weakens it. Reputation isn't declared, it's demonstrated. And when you operate with excellence consistently, people notice. Not because you ask, but because excellence always leaves a trail. People follow results, not words. Real value never needs an introduction. That level of influence doesn't happen by chance. It comes from clarity and self-respect. It's the refusal to accept mediocrity even when it's tempting, and the choice to do what's right even when no one is watching. When shortcuts appear, you ignore them. When applause is delayed, you keep going. Discipline doesn't need an audience, and excellence doesn't need attention. You're not building for credit. You're building for legacy. You're not trying to be noticed. You're making yourself undeniable. Imagine walking into a room where everyone already knows your name. Not because you introduced yourself, but because your actions spoke long before you arrived. Your results become your reputation. That kind of recognition can't be bought, borrowed, or faked. It can only be earned. And once you've earned it, no one can take it away. You become a name worth remembering. Now ask yourself, are you still waiting to be chosen, or are you making yourself impossible to ignore? Do your habits align with greatness, or do they whisper confusion? If someone recorded your daily decisions and replayed them as your story, would you be proud? You don't need to chase recognition. You need to become the kind of person whose work is so solid, so consistent, that recognition finds you. Let your output speak for itself. Your life is a billboard, whether you realize it or not. The world reads your habits, sees your choices, and feels your discipline, or your lack of it. What you do daily is writing the headlines of your reputation. If your results were displayed for the world to see, what would they say? Would they inspire? Would they confirm your words? Or expose them? Power is quiet. Greatness is proven. Influence is earned. So stop trying to impress. Be excellent. Be so committed to mastery that people remember your results more than your name. That's how you become impossible to ignore, not by shouting louder, but by living better. Every setback can be a setup for greatness. Life won't ask for your permission before it delivers pain. It won't warn you before it strikes, financially, emotionally, spiritually. You'll be betrayed, lose what you thought was secure, and feel the ground disappear. But here's the truth. Nothing has power until you decide what it means. You can let it break you, or you can let it build you. Pain is raw material, and what you create from it is your choice. The strongest people aren't those untouched by misfortune, but those who faced it and rose anyway. They didn't escape pain, they studied it. They didn't deny suffering, they turned it into fuel. They stopped asking why me, and started asking what now. That's what separates the defeated from the determined. It's not about how hard the hit is, but how you respond. When you carry yourself like nothing can stop you, setbacks shrink. They don't vanish, but they lose their power to paralyze. You stop treating them as walls and start seeing them as scenery, things you pass, not barriers holding you back. Life is full of turns and storms. The secret is in how you bend, not break. You adapt, you learn, and you press forward again and again. Strength isn't built through ease, it's built through endurance. Now picture this, you lose your job. Everyone expects collapse, waiting for the spiral. But instead, you rise early the next day. You sit in silence, you plan, you write a new goal, you reach for new connections. You walk with a sharper gaze and a firmer step. Why? Because you've decided no event will ever define you. You define yourself regardless of the event. Pain doesn't have to be your identity. It can become your momentum. Some people live trapped in the echo of their wounds, replaying what hurt them until it hardens into helplessness. But you are different. You extract meaning, not misery. You gather lessons, not labels. You stop romanticizing the struggle and start building through it. That shift changes everything. When you own the narrative, nothing owns you. Not loss, not rejection, not even failure. So ask yourself, when life knocks, will you crumble or construct? Will one moment speak for your whole life? Or will you speak back through action? Hardship is not a sentence, it's a challenge. And challenges don't respond to how you feel, they respond to how you move. You decide whether a setback becomes a tombstone or a cornerstone, an excuse or a weapon. What if your greatest failure was only the tunnel to your greatest strength? What if the betrayal, the collapse, the disappointment you thought would break you was actually shaping you into someone unshakable? Some of your greatest breakthroughs will arrive disguised as breakdowns. Pain isn't the end, it's the pressure that forms the diamond. What matters most is that you keep walking. You can't control the storm, but you can control your stance. You can't choose every battle, but you can choose your spirit. When life hits you, and it will, remember, it's not the fall that defines you, but what you do next. Let the world doubt, delay, or test you, but never let it decide for you. You are not what happened to you. You are what you do with it. Speak with authority to yourself before you ever speak to the world. That inner dialogue sets the tone for everything that follows. If your voice is filled with hesitation, fear, or doubt, it will leak into your posture, your energy, your decisions. People may not see the battle inside, but they will feel it. The man who commands his life must first master the battlefield of thought. You cannot lead in the world if you're lost in your own head. Authority begins in silence, long before a word leaves your lips. Words are not just tools, they're weapons, maps, and seeds. What you speak in private is laying the foundation within you, brick by brick. Every "I can," "I will," "I must" is a brick of steel reinforcing the walls of your mind. Every "I can't," "I'm not enough," maybe someday tears those walls apart. Speak carelessly in private, and you'll stumble in public. The mind listens, and it obeys. Repeat weakness often enough, and it becomes policy. Repeat power often enough, and it becomes instinct. That's why self-talk isn't silly, it's strategic. You are training your subconscious to either support you or sabotage you. Many failures trace back to what people told themselves when no one else was around. So speak with purpose, even in the quiet. Speak life, speak truth, speak what you want to become, not just what you see. Say it when you wake. Say it when doubt whispers. Say it when quitting feels easier. Program your mind with your words. Power doesn't wait for confidence. It builds it through repetition and conviction. Now picture this. You stand in front of the mirror, not posing, but confronting. You meet your own eyes, not with arrogance, but with intensity. You declare, "I am focused. I am relentless. I do not quit. I overcome. I grow. I rise." You don't wait for the world to agree. You command yourself. You give your future a voice. And slowly, something shifts, not outside, but within. These moments are not small. They are sacred. Because how you speak to yourself in private is exactly how you'll act under pressure. When the test comes, when doubt surrounds you, you won't fold. Because you've already declared victory before the battle began. You've rehearsed strength, you've fed it daily. The man who trains in peace performs with certainty in war. Now ask yourself, what if every thought you spoke was a seed? And every seed grew into the tree you must live under? What have you been planting? Encouragement or doubt? Fire or fog? Direction or distraction? Thoughts form patterns. Patterns shape behaviors. And behaviors create your life. Trace it back, and you'll find it always starts with a whisper. Your words carve your future. So are you building a kingdom or digging a ditch? Are you empowering the man you want to become, or feeding the one you must leave behind? You don't need perfection, you need truth. And the truth is this: your voice matters. Even when no one hears it but you, especially then. The world responds to conviction, and conviction begins with belief. Not the praise, not the applause, but the quiet certainty that says, "I was made for this. I am shaped by this. I will overcome this." Say it until your feet believe what your mouth has declared, until words turn into identity. So speak like your future depends on it, because it does. Stop waiting for someone to tap you on the shoulder and say, "Now's your time." That day never comes for the man who waits. The world doesn't hand out permission slips. It rewards initiative. It respects those who move first. The ones who don't wait for approval. They appoint themselves. They stop waiting and start walking. You may have talent. You may even have vision. But none of it matters if you're still standing at the door, waiting for someone else to open it. Opportunity doesn't knock. It waits on the other side, wondering if you'll turn the handle. And the key? It's been in your pocket all along. It's your decision to act. The real test is your willingness to begin without applause, without backup, without certainty. No one will ever believe in you more than you do. That's not just motivation, it's reality. If you step into the world as if you don't belong, the world will agree. If you treat yourself like an outsider, others will too. Respect never starts with others. It begins with refusing to treat yourself small. So walk like you're appointed, speak like you're prepared, and move as if no one is coming to save you, because they're not. Self-respect isn't arrogance, it's alignment. If you want others to respect your time, your work, your vision, you must respect it first. That means showing up on time when no one is watching. It means committing to the work even in silence. It means standing tall before you feel ready, because readiness isn't given, it's built. Picture this: you walk into a room. No one invited you. No one announced you. Yet your presence is undeniable. Your work is so consistent, your presence so grounded, that people pay attention. You didn't arrive with noise or demand. You arrived with proof. That's the power of choosing yourself. You stop performing. You start delivering. The room doesn't dismiss you. It adapts to you. Let go of the illusion that someone else's approval will unlock your potential. If you keep waiting for validation, you've already handed your power away. And if they never give it, you remain stuck, not because you lack ability, but because you refuse to begin without permission. The truth is, the moment you say, "I choose me," everything shifts. You stop begging and start building. But ask yourself, how many years have you spent hoping someone would notice? How much energy have you wasted perfecting a plan, waiting for perfect timing, needing approval from someone who isn't even watching? What would your life look like if you stopped waiting? What if you declared, "This is mine. I will carry it. I don't need anyone to lighten the load. I'll grow strong enough to bear it myself"? Choosing yourself isn't a one-time event. It's a daily decision, a posture of action. Every day you remind yourself, "I don't need a stamp. I don't need a savior. I just need to show up." The world respects those who respect their calling enough to act on it. You don't need to scream about your worth. Live it so loudly that no one can deny it. Yes, doubts will come. Yes, you'll hear that voice asking, "Who do you think you are?" Answer it. "I'm the one who decided to move. I'm the one who got tired of waiting." Say it boldly. "I chose me," and that was enough to begin. Watch how the world responds. Not when you beg, but when you become undeniable. Don't wait another year. Don't sit at the edge of your dream, hoping someone calls your name. Call your own. Stand up. Show up. Build quietly. Deliver relentlessly. Pick yourself, and prove with everything you have that no one else was ever needed. Train until action becomes automatic. Success doesn't belong to the man who tries once with fire, nor the one who burns bright for a season. Success belongs to the man who trains daily until effort is no longer what he does. It's who he is. He doesn't wait for motivation or perfect conditions. He prepares, because when the crucial moment comes, you don't rise to your goals. You fall to your preparation. Your systems, your habits, your foundation, those are what hold you up. The man who trains daily doesn't need hype. He doesn't need a reason. He has built motion into his very identity. While others wait for permission or energy, he simply moves. He acts as if nothing can stop him, not because life never tested him, but because he trained himself to keep moving regardless. Motivation fades, but systems endure, and the man with systems becomes unstoppable. When you act like nothing can stop you, something shifts. You stop relying on fleeting feelings. You no longer check your mood before starting your mission. You don't ask if you're inspired. You execute. You've practiced doing what must be done, whether it excites you or exhausts you. Discipline stops being forced and becomes reflex. This is how warriors are built, quietly, repetitively, with resolve. Systems protect you from yourself, from excuses, moods, and discomfort. You don't leave greatness to chance, you engineer it. You wake at the same time, you train at the same hour, you think with clarity because you built clarity into your routine. Most men drift, you drive. Most react, you respond. That is the power of preparation. It turns chaos into order. Picture this. It's early, the sky is dark, your body aches. Most people would roll over, but not you. You rise, not because it feels good, but because this is who you are. Your feet hit the ground with purpose. Cold air, tired muscles, silent room, it doesn't matter. You're not driven by comfort or weather. You're driven by a standard, one built in the quiet. That discipline makes you dangerous. The moment you stop letting feelings dictate your actions, you become a machine of purpose. You are no longer guided by comfort. You are guided by mission. And every action, no matter how small, reinforces who you are becoming. Momentum builds. The hard becomes normal. The impossible turns into your practice ground. You don't hesitate. You execute. Because you've removed the option to negotiate with laziness, you don't wait for inspiration to strike. Movement has become your medicine. Each rep, each step, each page, each decision adds another layer to the man you're becoming. While others hesitate at the starting line, you're already halfway down the road. Not because you're faster, but because you began. Now ask yourself, what if you stopped wondering how you feel and started asking what your mission demands? What if you stripped away emotion and asked only, what must I do today to get where I want to be? That single question can change everything, because it puts control back in your hands. And the truth is, you have more control than you admit. What would your life look like if your habits carried you even when motivation disappeared? If your routine held firm on the days your spirit felt dry? That isn't fantasy, that's structure. That's what systems are for. They shield your progress from weakness. They hold the line when emotions falter. Over time, they transform you into a man who moves through anything. Success doesn't require superhuman strength. It requires consistency. The men who win aren't always the most gifted, but the most prepared, the most reliable, the most unwilling to quit. Every day you train, every day you show up, you create distance between yourself and the man still waiting for motivation. You become someone people admire, not because you said the right things, but because you did the right things again and again. Could it be that the men you admire most aren't more talented, just more trained? Maybe they simply repeated what worked until it became undeniable. They lifted before dawn. They worked while others slept. They practiced when no one watched. And while you were still wondering how he got there, he was already halfway to the next level. Success doesn't simply appear. It reveals who is willing to stay longest in the fire. The question is no longer how hard you can try today, but how often you can train until trying becomes automatic. How many silent mornings? How many unseen battles are you willing to endure? In the end, the world doesn't remember what you hoped for. It remembers what you built, and what you build depends on how you train. Make effort your default, action your instinct. Let excellence be your baseline, not your peak. When you do, you won't need permission, applause, or even motivation. You'll have something far stronger. You'll have identity. The man who trains daily becomes the man who conquers, not by chance, not by charm, but by an unshakable commitment to move forward no matter how he feels. Every morning is a decision, whether you recognize it or not. You choose to fight or fold, to rise with purpose or drift into distraction. Your actions reveal the truth. If you roll out of bed with no aim, no plan, and no fire, you've already surrendered the day. Drifting may be easy, but it never leads anywhere worth going. Each day must be claimed. It will not hand itself to you. You must seize it, seize the hour, seize the opportunity. Because if you don't, someone else will. Someone else will write you into their plan, dictate the terms, and take your hours while giving nothing back. Time is not stolen. Time isn't stolen. It's surrendered through passivity, hesitation, and inaction. The most powerful men you know, the ones who command attention and build legacies, are not the loudest. They are the most intentional. They don't stumble into excellence. They construct it brick by brick, choice by choice. They don't wait for the day to define them. They tell the day what it will become. That's not arrogance, it's discipline. A man who builds his morning builds his life. The morning is more than a time. It's territory, a battlefield. And the one who wins it wins everything. Picture this. Before the sun even rises, you've already taken ground. You've written your goals, reviewed your vision, sharpened your tools. While the world sleeps, you're setting the tone. You're not reacting to life, you're creating it. While others hit snooze, you're already in motion. Not frantic, not anxious, but clear. You know what this day is for. Your feet hit the floor with direction, not doubt. That power doesn't come from talent. It comes from repetition, from making your morning sacred. While others groan, you ground yourself. Most people wake up and receive the day. You write the script. You don't leave emotions to chance. You don't wait for motivation. You create momentum with habit, preparation, and intent. The man who wins the first hour doesn't need to chase the rest. He owns it. So ask yourself, who controls your mornings? Are you the author of your day or just a character in someone else's schedule? Do you drift into the hours or design them with purpose? Your morning routine tells the truth. If you treated every sunrise as a sacred contract with your purpose, what would change? Would you still waste the first hour on distractions or crawl into the day hoping for energy instead of bringing it? Would you still shrink into distraction or would you stand tall, even in silence, declaring, "This is mine. This time belongs to me"? The difference between a powerful man and a passive one isn't motivation, it's ritual. Motivation fades, but ritual remains. Ritual is armor. It protects your mission from your moods. It keeps you moving when comfort tries to pull you back. Each morning you win, you reinforce identity. You confirm, I am the man who shows up. I'm not driven by feelings. I'm driven by decisions. You don't need to conquer the world before breakfast, but you must conquer yourself. That's the quiet victory, the one no one sees, but everyone senses. Confidence is born here, not from hype or noise, but from knowing that before anyone asked anything of you, you already showed up for yourself. You honored the contract. You kept the promise. Even on hard days, tired days, rainy days, you showed up. And by doing so, you remind yourself exactly who you are. You're not owned by weakness. You're not ruled by delay. You have a mission, and mornings are the forge where that mission is sharpened. Discipline is the gift you give to your future. Every focused morning deposits strength into the man you're becoming. Every wasted one withdraws it. There is no neutral. You're always building or breaking. So build. Build with urgency. Build with consistency. Build with the unshakable mindset that says, "The day is mine because I claimed it before it began." While others wake unsure how they'll make it through, you've already begun. You've already written your target. You've already stepped into motion because you trained yourself to act before the chaos. That's what separates leaders from wanderers. Not luck, not genetics, ritual. Relentless, grounded, unshakable ritual. So tomorrow morning, don't just rise, arrive. Don't just open your eyes, open your intention. Don't just sip coffee, drink in the opportunity. The hours ahead aren't guaranteed, but they are available. And they belong to the man who shows up early, decides with clarity, and moves with command. He isn't waiting. He isn't drifting. He's already winning before the world even notices. Learn to outlast, not just outperform. Talent might win a race, but endurance wins a life. The world is full of gifted men who never finished, not because they lacked ability, but because they didn't stay long enough. You don't need to be the fastest, strongest, or most brilliant. You just need to keep moving when others quit. Most men aren't defeated by failure. They're defeated by frustration. They expected greatness too soon. They mistook discomfort for a dead end. But progress rarely looks dramatic. It hides in repetition. And repetition isn't glamorous. It's hard, it's quiet. But it works. There's real power in staying the course. Returning to the same goal, the same routine, the same standard, day after day. Progress won't always feel visible. Some days will seem like nothing's happening. But if you're building something real, it's happening beneath the surface. Roots are deepening. Resolve is hardening. Small wins are compounding. This is how empires are built. Not in explosions, but in layers. Not in moments of glory, but in years of quiet labor. The ones who rise highest are not the sprinters, but the men who never stop walking. You must become the one who outlasts. The one who shows up when it's boring, when it's quiet, when nothing seems to change. That's where most people quit. They want the payoff without patience. But you stay. You sharpen. You adapt. You push forward while others pause. You remind yourself daily that nothing can stop the man who refuses to be stopped. Not setbacks, not slow results, not silence. Everyone talks about success, but few understand the price of sustained effort, the cost of staying locked in year after year, with no promise of when the reward will appear. You must be willing to look like a fool to those who quit early, to keep swinging the hammer even when the wall won't crack. Because one day it does, not by luck, but by repetition, by persistence that outlasted resistance. Now picture this. Everyone else quits by year 3. They say it's too slow. They chase the next thing. But you stay. You refine. You deepen. By year 10, you're still standing, stronger, wiser, built from the inside out. Suddenly, what seemed like a plateau becomes a breakthrough. People call it overnight success, but you know the truth. It was built in silence. It was earned through endurance. Endurance doesn't mean never feeling tired. It means choosing to continue despite fatigue, distraction, or discouragement. While others need excitement to act, you move through discipline. You act whether you feel it or not. That is real power. That's what separates the men who finish from the men who fade. They didn't lose, they left too soon. But not you. So ask yourself, how many times have you stopped just before the reward? How many goals were left half-built because boredom dictated your actions? Can you keep going long after the feeling is gone? The truth is, anyone can start. Anyone can feel fired up on day 1. But few have the will to grind on day 300 when nothing feels exciting and everything feels heavy. What would your life look like if you stayed the course while others scattered? If you kept building instead of starting over? Reputation, wealth, and strength all compound with time, but only if you refuse to stop. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being consistent. You don't need to be extraordinary every day, only relentless enough not to quit. Endurance is the foundation of greatness. Quiet, steady, unshakable. And when the dust settles, it won't be the loudest who stand tallest. It will be the ones who stood the longest. Be that man. Let your standards become your signature. People may not remember your clever words or polished explanations, but they will remember your work. They'll remember how it made them feel, the quality, the care, the consistency you poured into every task. Whether it's a handwritten note or a major project, the standard you uphold becomes the silent echo of your name. Habits either build trust or break it. In the end, character isn't what you claim, it's what you deliver when no one's watching. That is your true signature. Your standard is your brand. Every careless job says, "This was good enough for me." Every refined job says, "Excellence is who I am." Which message do you want to send? One builds credibility, the other builds regret. While others chase applause, you must chase mastery, knowing your standards travel faster than any resume. Average is everywhere. Greatness is rare. And because it's rare, it's noticed instantly. You don't need to shout when your work speaks clearly. You don't need to declare your worth. Your excellence declares it for you. People don't follow the loudest man in the room. They follow the most reliable. So instead of proving yourself with words, prove it with execution. Let your results speak louder than your opinions. Let your effort outweigh your ego. That's how legends are made. You don't become unstoppable by chance. You become unstoppable by refusing to tolerate mediocrity in anything. It begins with the small things, the tone of an email, the order in your notes, the follow-up after a handshake. These details are not small, they are the evidence. A man who can't be trusted with details cannot be trusted with empires. The world belongs to those who demand more of themselves than anyone else dares to. Shortcuts may give speed, but they never build strength. Speed might impress the shallow, but endurance crowns kings. The path to excellence is long and often lonely. But once you decide that nothing less than your best will ever leave your hands, you separate yourself from 90% of the world. You stop cutting corners and start building edges. In time, your sharpness will speak for itself. Excellence is not perfection. It's the refusal to be careless. You must value your work more than the praise it may or may not receive. Excellence is a decision, not a gift or a passing mood. It's made every day, even when you're tired, even when no one notices. The man who sharpens his axe in the dark will one day split mountains in daylight, because he built his edge while others slept. While they chased applause, he chased improvement. And when his moment comes, he is ready. That's what separates the prepared from the panicked. One practiced privately, the other only hoped publicly. Most wait to be asked for more, but the man of legacy delivers more than asked, every single time. Not out of pride, but because his soul rejects mediocrity. He doesn't hand in a job, he hands in a statement. And that statement says, "You can count on me." Not because he said so, but because he proved it. That kind of man becomes unforgettable, not flashy, not loud, just undeniable. People begin to say, if he's involved, it will be right. The reputation you build becomes your silent representative in rooms you haven't entered yet. A name backed by consistency opens doors you never thought possible. But a name built on shortcuts shuts doors you never even knew existed. So build with care, work in silence, and ask yourself with every task, is this my best? Not because others are watching, but because you are. The man you become in private will one day introduce you to the world. Picture this, you finish a task, and it's flawless. No one asked you to make it that polished, but that's your standard. People are stunned. Who did this? They ask. Your name rises, and with it comes respect, not only for your skill, but for your discipline. That is the kind of excellence people trust. It's the kind that earns opportunities, loyalty, and reputation without you ever asking. That is the silent power of standards. They speak even when you don't. So here's your test. When you see imperfection, do you ignore it or correct it? When no one is grading you, do you still push for mastery? What if every email, every handshake, every decision reflected your entire name? Would you still deliver it the same way? Because someone is always watching, even if it's only you. And one day, your standards will speak, either for you or against you. There is no such thing as just a job. There are no small tasks. There's only the measure of your care. Every job is an audition for the next one. Every effort is a seed. And those who harvest later are the ones planting deeply today. Stop treating tasks as checklists. Start treating them as mirrors. Because what you hand in is who you are. If you want a future of greatness, start delivering greatness now. Your legacy won't be built in one grand moment. It will be shaped in thousands of ordinary choices where you push the extra inch. That inch, the invisible effort, is what separates the average from the elite. It's not about praise, it's about trust. And trust is earned when no one is watching. So write your legacy in detail, through quiet devotion to mastery, one task at a time. Let the world underestimate you. Let them think you're just doing your job. Meanwhile, you're building an empire, brick by perfect brick. Not because it's easy, but because your name deserves it. Every effort is your signature. Sign it with honor. Sign it with pride. Sign it with excellence. Because one day, your work will outlive you. And when it does, let it say, you didn't cut corners, you carved greatness. Embrace pressure as a privilege. Pressure is not the enemy. It's the stage where real players rise. Most shrink when the weight comes. They hide behind excuses, delay decisions, and chase comfort. But the one who acts as if nothing can stop him, he steps into pressure like it's his battlefield. He doesn't flinch, because he knows what others don't. Pressure doesn't break you, it reveals you. It exposes the difference between the prepared and the panicked, the steady and the scattered. Pressure doesn't destroy strength, it announces it. When everything falls apart and you still deliver, still lead, still move forward, that's when people see who you really are. That's when you see it too. Comfort never told the truth about anyone. It's chaos, deadlines, and losses that reveal character. When the pressure rises, your choices become clearer. There's no room for fluff, no space for doubt, only action and precision. Most people run from pressure, thinking it's punishment. But pressure isn't a trap, it's a training ground. It purifies your ambition, burns away the excess, and forces you to focus. Under stress, your choices sharpen. Distractions disappear. You learn to separate the urgent from the essential. You become a man of exactness, and exactness is power. Most lose because they wait for perfect conditions. But you adapt under fire. Steel can't be sharpened without heat, and no one becomes powerful without pressure. Resistance isn't weakness. It's the raw material of greatness. Champions aren't built in still waters. They're forged in the current. When stress comes, you don't scatter, you structure. You prepare in silence so you can perform in the storm. That's why pressure is a privilege. It proves you're being forged. Picture this, an impossible deadline, a short-staffed team, outdated tools. Do you panic? No. You plan, act, deliver. While others freeze, you execute. Why? Because pressure isn't punishment, it's promotion. You've trained for this, built your foundation, and now you rise. That's what separates the professional from the pretender. Pressure strips away illusions. When things fall apart, there's no time to pretend. You act from truth or you collapse. That's the gift of pressure. It demands authenticity. It asks, what do you truly believe? How badly do you want it? And most importantly, what are you willing to endure for it? A man without pressure lives in comfort. A man who embraces pressure learns to command. The highest performers don't avoid it, they engineer it. They place themselves in hard places, impossible standards, difficult rooms. Not to impress others, but to sharpen themselves. They don't wait for adversity, they welcome it. Because they know this law, you only grow through weight. No resistance, no muscle, no pressure, no elevation. So stop praying for an easier life. Start preparing for a stronger self. That's the purpose of pressure. Look at the greatest builders, thinkers, and warriors in history. They didn't become legends by chance. They endured. They stood firm when others fled. They declared, let the storm come, I am ready. Pressure only crushes what is hollow. But if your foundation is built on discipline, purpose, and principle, pressure won't crush you. It will crown you. The moment others collapse is the moment you advance. But here's the truth most won't admit. Pressure reveals your cracks. If you haven't trained, it will expose you. If you've been faking, it will break you. And that's a gift. Because it forces you to grow. Pressure isn't only a revealer, it's a refiner. It shows you what still needs to be strengthened. So don't run, learn. When things go wrong, don't ask, why me? Ask, where can I improve? That mindset turns pressure into progress. And ask yourself this, when the heat rises, do you fold or focus? Retreat or regroup? Most men panic under pressure because they never practiced peace. But you can be different. You can train your nervous system to stay steady when everything shakes. That's not detachment. That's dominion. Dominion over fear. Dominion over impulse. Dominion over the storm that breaks weaker men. Pressure doesn't care about talent. It only responds to preparation. And preparation is a choice. Every day you train in silence. You're earning your calm when the fire comes. Every time you rehearse the hard things, you lower the risk of collapse. When pressure comes, you don't rise to the occasion. You fall to the level of your training. So ask yourself, is your training strong enough to hold you? You want to lead? Then learn to stay calm in chaos. You want to win? Then learn to keep working when you're tired. Stay focused when doubted, committed when challenged. That's what pressure demands. It doesn't ask for charm, it asks for grit. It doesn't care about mood, only about movement. Because movement under pressure builds trust. And trust is what earns you the next opportunity. Remember this, pressure means you've entered a higher level. That tight chest, that urgent deadline, that heavy responsibility, it's not punishment, it's proof. Proof that you're being called to more. And when you reframe it, everything changes. You stop resisting and start flowing, because pressure becomes the very pulse of growth. The man who runs toward pressure, not away from it, becomes the one who commands every room he enters. So the next time it hits, don't just react. Respond. Plant your feet, slow your breath, and say, this is exactly where I'm meant to be. While others drown in pressure, you build in it. While they collapse, you conquer. Not because you're free from fear, but because you've trained to move anyway. That is the mark of mastery. Let the storm come. You've built the foundation, you've trained in the dark, and now the world will see what you're made of. Pressure is not here to stop you. It's here to show you. The man who sees pressure as proof, not punishment, becomes unstoppable. Be the standard in a world full of excuses. Excuses are the currency of the average. Easy to spend, easy to justify. I didn't have time. Nobody helped me. Things didn't line up. That's the language of the man who stays stuck. While others waste time planning reasons to fail, a rare few rise. Not because their path was easier, but because they refuse to explain away their potential. Life is hard for everyone. Yet the man who wins doesn't blame conditions. He acts, he adjusts. While some debate the storm, he's already building the shelter. The moment you decide to move as if nothing can stop you, everything shifts. No more excuses. From that point on, you own your mindset, your time, your results. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what must I do next? That shift from blame to command is what separates drifting from dominating. Excuses keep you passive, but ownership makes you powerful. It's not about fault, it's about focus. Most people don't choose mediocrity. They allow excuses to slowly talk them out of greatness. One missed opportunity becomes a pattern. One delay becomes a habit. Soon their life is filled with half-finished dreams and abandoned goals. But you interrupt that cycle. You decide, no more. You become the exception, the one who finishes, who keeps promises even when it's hard. If you said you'd do it, you deliver. No matter what. Now imagine walking into a room full of forgotten plans and unfinished efforts. Everyone has an excuse. But you stand out, not because you had more help or fewer challenges, but because you finished. You adjusted instead of quitting. You built when others blamed. That's why your presence carries weight. That's why people call you when it truly matters, because they know you won't fold. Excuses are seductive, wrapping failure in comfort. But here's the truth. Life doesn't care how convincing your reasons sound. Results are all that matter. Did you finish? Did you rise? Did you execute? That's the scoreboard. The man who builds a legacy isn't lucky. He's the one who silences excuses and replaces them with responsibility. You cannot be powerful and pitiful at the same time. You must choose. Either you argue for your potential or for your limitations. One builds your future, the other destroys it. Every time you catch yourself saying, I can't because, interrupt it. Replace it with, I will, and here's how. That single rewrite changes everything. You stop waiting for permission and start taking command. You no longer hope things will change, you create the change. But ask yourself honestly, how often do you explain instead of execute? When setbacks come, do you spend energy justifying or solving? It's not about denying reality. It's about choosing response over reaction, clarity over excuses. The man who wins doesn't need a perfect plan. He needs movement. Execution without excuses always outperforms hesitation wrapped in planning. Excuses protect your ego but steal your future. Drop them, and you unlock possibility. That's the paradox. The moment you stop arguing your limits, you stop living within them. Suddenly, what once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. Why? Because you stopped fighting yourself and became an ally to your own greatness. Every man you admire faced doubt, pressure, and the temptation to quit. The difference? He didn't give in. He moved forward anyway. That's your invitation. Not to be perfect, not to be lucky, but to be relentless. To replace every reason with action. To show up even when it's inconvenient. In the end, your excuses won't be remembered, but your results will. So what would your life look like if you replaced every excuse with focused action? What if every delay became a challenge instead of a dead end? What if you stopped giving away your power by blaming and started taking it back by building? The truth is, your future isn't waiting on luck. It's waiting on the moment you choose execution over explanation. That's the moment everything changes. Lead yourself before you lead others. Influence doesn't start with charisma, it starts with character. And you can't expect to inspire anyone if your own life is scattered with half-finished plans and emotional chaos. If your habits are sloppy, your leadership will eventually crack. If your thoughts are scattered, your message will confuse. A man without order in himself can never create order around him. But the one who walks in discipline, clarity, and purpose becomes magnetic because he leads from alignment, not noise. Leadership is not a title you claim. It's a result you earn. It happens when your actions are so consistent and so strong that others naturally trust your direction. True leadership begins when your life becomes an example, not a lecture. When people watch how you live and think, if I followed his path, would I grow stronger? That is the real test. Not who hears you, but who wants to live like you. It starts with your routine. Do you rise early or press snooze? Do you keep your word when no one's watching? Do you give your best effort, even without applause? Those unseen hours shape your authority. People don't follow promises, they follow proof. Emotional control, daily discipline, mental focus, these are not optional. They are the foundation of influence. You must lead yourself as if your entire future depends on it, because it does. A man who cannot master his own habits will never master leadership. If you're still a slave to impulse, distraction, or laziness, your leadership will never be trusted. Why? Because people follow consistency, not noise. They trust those who've already won battles in private. It means doing exactly what you say every time. It means setting standards and living them. That's how loyalty is built. Not by being impressive, but by being reliable. Now picture this. A young man asks you the secret to success. You don't boast. You don't deliver a long speech. You simply say, do what I did. And when he looks at your results, your health, your clarity, your impact, he understands. You've walked the walk, upheld the standard. That kind of authority can't be faked, because your life itself proves your philosophy. That's the kind of leadership that echoes for years. Ask yourself, would you follow the man you are right now? Do your habits inspire loyalty or doubt? If someone copied your attitude, your consistency, your discipline exactly as they are, would it free them or trap them in circles? That's the ultimate test of leadership. Not how many followers you collect, but how many leaders you create by your example. And that always begins with leading yourself. If you want others to trust your word, they must first see you trust yourself. That means no excuses, no shortcuts, no pretending, just raw, unfiltered consistency. You set the pace with your actions. Your voice only matters when your walk reinforces it. Influence isn't about volume, it's about alignment. Your words should never be louder than your results. If they are, you're not leading, you're performing. So many men try to skip this step. They want respect without the routine, followers without the focus. But leadership begins in the dark. It's formed in quiet choices, self-corrections, and unseen consistency. If you can't lead yourself through pressure, distraction, and fatigue, how will you stand when others depend on you? Self-leadership isn't glamorous, but it is the root of every great movement. Remember this, before a king rules a kingdom, he must rule himself. Before a general commands an army, he must command his own thoughts. True power begins with inner mastery, and that's why the strongest leaders never boast. They don't need to. Their results speak louder than words. Their energy carries weight because it's grounded in order. When you lead yourself well, your presence shifts the atmosphere in any room. So here's your challenge. Every morning, ask yourself, would I follow me today? Would I trust the path I'm walking? Would I want my family, my team, my community to live as I do? If the answer is no, adjust immediately. Don't wait. Don't justify. Raise your standard. Cut the noise. Return to alignment. Because your life is your loudest message, and the world is already listening. Lead yourself first, relentlessly, silently, consistently. One day, when people ask how you did it, you won't need words. You'll simply point to your life, and they'll understand. Make fear your servant, not your master. Fear never disappears. It waits at the door of every new level. It guards the edge of every dream, every bold move, whispering, "What if you fail? What if you're not ready?" But fear is not your enemy. Your obedience to fear, that is the real enemy. Courage isn't born by avoiding fear, but by walking with it and refusing to let it have the final word. Acting as if nothing can stop you doesn't mean feeling invincible. It means moving forward even with fear present. Strangely enough, fear often points you toward greatness. It's more than an emotion, it's a compass. When something scares you, it's usually a sign that growth is on the other side. The bigger the fear, the bigger the future it guards. But noticing fear isn't enough. You must step forward. Say to yourself, "Yes, I feel it, but it won't lead me." Courage is misunderstood. People think it means being fearless, but history's most courageous were never without fear. They mastered it. They didn't wait to feel ready or for fear to disappear. They simply decided, "My purpose matters more than my panic." That's the secret. Courage is a choice. A decision to place mission above emotion until fear loses its grip. It won't vanish overnight. It must be outgrown, like a heavy coat you no longer need. And the only way to outgrow it is to face it. Each time you act instead of avoid, fear weakens. With practice and discipline, your steps grow faster than your doubts. You become the man who moves forward even while afraid. Picture standing at the edge of a new venture, maybe a career shift, a relationship risk, a bold commitment. Fear appears instantly, tightening your chest, racing your thoughts. But instead of retreating, you step forward, slowly, deliberately. Fear follows, but it no longer drives. You've trained yourself to lead, and fear becomes background noise. Still present, but no longer in charge. And here's the question. How many of your greatest opportunities has fear already stolen? How many times have you hesitated, delayed, or held back? Not because of logic, but because of feeling. Fear disguises itself as wisdom. It whispers, "Be careful, be realistic. What if it doesn't work?" But ask yourself, what if it does? What if everything you want is waiting on the other side of the fear you keep obeying? Wouldn't that be worth the discomfort? Most people wait for fear to vanish before acting. That moment never comes. Fear doesn't fade with time. It fades with motion. You must move while afraid. That's how you take back your power. Not by becoming fearless, but by proving to yourself that fear cannot stop you. The moment you do, something shifts. The fear is still there, but it feels smaller than your mission. Your brain will always try to protect you, triggering fear before every leap. That's its job. But your spirit was built for more than safety. It was built for expansion. And growth never happens in comfort. It lives in tension, in motion, in uncertainty. That's why fear shows up, not to block you, but to test you. It asks, "Are you ready for what's next?" And if your answer is yes, you step forward. Not without fear, but in defiance of it. In those moments, a deeper strength appears. You uncover grit, resolve, and courage you never knew you had. You become the man others can trust under pressure. Here's the rewritten continuation, tighter by 10%, true to the original, vivid, and cleanly punctuated. Because while others freeze, you move. While they pause, you decide. Over time, that becomes your identity, not the fearless one, but the one who acts anyway. That's real strength. Fear isn't the gatekeeper of failure. It's the threshold of greatness. If you stop every time it appears, you'll never learn what's possible. Make fear your teacher, not your master, and everything shifts. You'll start seeking what scares you, knowing the treasure, and the next version of you lives in the brave step forward. So ask yourself, what fear have you been avoiding? What conversation, decision, or dream? What happens if you stop rehearsing the worst and walk into it anyway? Maybe fear isn't your limitation, but your invitation to step into the strength waiting for you. Walk through it. Let yourself into it. Not with bravado, but with quiet defiance. Step by step. breath by breath, action over avoidance. Fear won't vanish, but it will submit, because nothing unnerves fear like a man who keeps moving. Protect your vision with fear's obsession. Your vision isn't a hobby or a wish. It's a sacred assignment. A mission whispered into your spirit, not to impress others, but to transform you. Here's the truth. The world won't protect it. No one will knock to ask about your dream. Distractions will tempt you. Doubters will mock you. Time will try to seduce you into settling. The only thing that will keep your flame alive is obsession. Not lukewarm interest, not polite hope, obsession. Treat your vision like a fortress. Guard it as if your life depends on it, because it does. Protect it from comparison, starve it of excuses, and defend it from mediocrity. Above all, build it. Don't wait for permission. Don't explain it to everyone. If others don't see it, that's fine. It was given to you, not to them. Let them doubt. Let them wander. You build. The world may call obsession madness, but it's not insanity, it's clarity. Obsession is alignment with your assignment. It's what separates those who dabble from those who dominate. Obsession means returning to the vision daily. When it's hard, when you're tired, when no one is watching. It means you don't need motivation, because your mission fuels you. Obsession keeps your hands moving while others sleep. That's not madness, that's devotion. Most people treat their dreams like casual suggestions. They talk about them, post about them, gossip about them. But the man who guards his vision builds in silence. He knows this dream is sacred. It's not for entertainment, it's for impact. He doesn't parade his ideas seeking approval. He works. And when the world finally sees what he's built, it's too late to stop him, because the foundation was laid in private. Imagine this. Years pass, and you've built something real, something undeniable. People look at it and say, I didn't see it back then. And you smile, because it wasn't planted in them. It was planted in you. It was planted in me. That moment is powerful, not because you proved others wrong, but because you proved yourself right. You stayed the course, trusted the seed, and now the vision has manifested. Ask yourself this. Do you guard your vision or gossip about it? Do you protect it from small minds or hand it out for empty opinions? Do you feed your dream daily with discipline, time, and sacrifice, or let it starve while distractions consume you? If your vision truly mattered, would you treat it casually? Your answer reveals everything about where you're headed. A vision doesn't stay alive through inspiration alone. It lives through habits, daily choices, unseen discipline. The small yes that seem trivial but compound into everything. Your dream doesn't die when others laugh. It dies when you stop feeding it. So feed it with structure, with belief, with early mornings and late nights. Build the routine that builds the result. The man who fulfills his vision doesn't need approval from everyone. He needs his own permission. Permission to keep going when applause is absent. Permission to hold the line when progress feels slow. That kind of man becomes unstoppable, not because he has greater talent, but because he has greater focus. He's not scattered. He's here, locked into the mission, immune to distraction and delay. Understand this. Your vision is not casual. It is a test. A test of how fiercely you'll protect what was placed inside you. A test of whether you'll nurture your calling or wait for someone else to do it. The vision that endures is the one guarded with relentless faith. Not through force, but through belief. You protect it by trusting it matters, even when nothing around you agrees. Most men don't fail because of enemies. They fail because apathy wears them down. They let the dream die. They permit delay. They settle for almost. But the man who finishes, he fights for his vision every single day. Even when tired. Even when broke. Even when misunderstood. Especially then. Because he knows, this vision was entrusted to me, and I will not let it rot in the soil of doubt. So here's your command. Guard your vision like your legacy depends on it, because it does. Stop letting doubt steal your time. Stop letting delay write your story. Stop explaining yourself to people who were never meant to carry what you carry. You were chosen for this. And the moment you decide to protect that truth with everything you've got, when you live obsessed, you become unstoppable. Honor your word, especially to yourself. Promises made to others carry weight, but the promises you make to yourself define who you are when no one is watching. When you say, I'll wake early, I'll train, I'll commit, and you don't, you're not just breaking a habit. You're breaking your own trust. That trust is the foundation of your inner strength. Every broken word chips away at your belief in yourself. Not all at once, but gradually, until one day your mind no longer believes you when you speak. That's how self-doubt begins, not from others, but from within. Trust isn't built through talk. It's built through evidence. Your subconscious watches everything you do. When your actions match your words, it begins to believe, my word is law. That's when everything shifts. Even in silence, you start to listen to yourself. You become the kind of man who follows through without supervision. You don't need applause. You don't need reminders. Your word alone is enough. And that quietly makes you powerful. Your strength grows in direct proportion to how seriously you treat your own commitments. Most people see their promises to themselves as flexible, negotiable, and driven by emotion. But if you want to become the man who earns respect, especially self-respect, you must treat those commitments as sacred, non-negotiable. Not based on how you feel, but on who you said you'd be. That shift from feelings to identity is where real transformation begins. Picture this. You say, "I'll write every morning." No one is checking, no one is applauding. But you do it anyway. Quietly, relentlessly, day after day. You don't skip, you don't explain, you simply execute. That's how legends are built, in private consistency. And over time, you start to respect yourself. You look in the mirror and know, I follow through. I do what I say. And that self-respect becomes your fuel. When you lie to yourself, your internal compass breaks. You stop trusting your own instincts because they've become negotiable. That's when confusion creeps in. That's when procrastination wins. But when your voice carries weight, everything shifts. When what you tell yourself actually matters, you begin to move with clarity. No second guessing, no hesitation, just alignment. You speak, you act, you deliver. Suddenly, your confidence no longer depends on outside permission. Self-worth is not built on compliments or validation. It's built on consistency. When you keep your word to yourself, you walk taller. You stop begging for motivation. You stop chasing approval. Why? Because you already know you'll show up. That kind of inner certainty is rare, and rare men are trusted. Not for their charisma, but for their commitment. That's what the world notices. That's what you feel. Integrity in action. Every time you delay what you promised yourself, you train your mind to disobey your future. Think about that. You're not just procrastinating. You're lowering the value of your own voice. Over time, your mind grows numb to your intentions. You say tomorrow, but it hears never. You say this matters, but your actions whisper, only when convenient. To reverse this, you must rebuild credibility, one promise at a time, one win at a time. Start small. Pick one thing and never miss it. Wake up when you said you would. Write what you said you'd write. Finish what you said you'd finish. Don't let yourself off the hook. Not because you're chasing perfection, but because you're building proof. Proof that your word has value. That you can be trusted, not just by others, but by the man in the mirror. And once that trust is rebuilt, momentum follows. Confidence follows. Power follows. The difference between winners and wishers is simple: follow through. Everyone talks about success. Everyone claims they'll change. But few actually do it, and even fewer do it consistently. Be the rare one. Be the one whose habits are guided not by mood, but by mission. The one who treats every small promise like it's life or death, because it is. Every promise kept adds a brick to your foundation. Every broken one removes it. You've been misled if you think accountability means relying on others to push you. Real accountability is internal. It's when you can look yourself in the mirror and say, I trust me. I keep my word. I don't flinch when it's hard. That is the mindset of a leader, a builder, a man who commands his future, not by accident, but by alignment. And that alignment only comes when your voice holds weight with yourself. So ask yourself, do I trust my own voice? When I commit to something, do I follow through, or do I explain it away? If someone copied my routine exactly, would they grow or collapse? What if my entire self-worth depended only on my ability to keep promises to myself? What would that reveal? What would that fix? These are the hard questions, but in the answers, you discover your strength. Make your word your law, not your mood, not your wish, your law. Speak carefully, act quickly, deliver consistently. And over time, you'll earn the most valuable asset a man can possess, self-trust. Because the man who trusts himself doesn't beg the world to believe in him. He shows up, and the world watches him win. Time won't wait for your confidence to catch up. It won't slow down so you can make up your mind. And it certainly won't pause until your nerves settle. Opportunities don't knock politely. They flash, they appear, and then they vanish. The men who win in life aren't the ones with perfect timing. They're the ones who move, even without it. They acted urgently, imperfectly, but consistently. While others hesitated, they struck. While others questioned, they advanced. Delay is defeat in disguise. It wears the mask of logic, caution, even preparation, but it always robs you of momentum. Too many men wait. The perfect day, the absence of fear, or someone else's permission. But remember this truth. No one is coming. The only signal you'll ever get is the one you give yourself. Waiting is the disease. Action is the cure. The longer you delay, the louder doubt becomes. The more you hesitate, the heavier excuses feel. And before you realize it, the window is gone. Not with a slam, but with a whisper. You don't miss your moment because you couldn't. You miss it because you didn't. Planning has value. Preparation matters. Vision gives direction. But none of it replaces movement. Action is the ultimate test. You can brainstorm for months and dream for years, but until you move, nothing changes. All progress is born of action. All growth. All momentum. No matter how brilliant the idea, it's worthless without execution. You don't need a flawless launch. You just need a start. Perfection is a myth. Progress is what builds success. And the man who acts, even clumsily, outruns the genius who waits. Picture this. You had the idea, you saw the vision, you didn't feel ready. But you moved anyway. You built something small. It wasn't perfect. You adjusted. You refined. You endured the awkwardness, the silence, the failure. But because you acted, the wheel began to turn. While others were still mapping the route, you had already found the road. And then it happened. The opportunity arrived, the reward appeared. Not because you waited, but because you refused to miss the window. Ask yourself, what are you still postponing? What idea is sitting in your notebook while time quietly pulls the rug from beneath it? What door are you standing in front of, watching it slowly close because you're waiting for the right time? You don't need more time. You need less fear, less hesitation, less overthinking. Time isn't your friend when you delay, it's your enemy. The longer you wait, the more power you hand to inaction. Here's the truth, you'll never feel completely ready. Readiness is a lie your mind tells to justify waiting. You become ready by moving. Clarity comes through action. The answers appear only after the first step, never before. Every man who built something great began while still afraid, still unsure. But they started anyway. That's what set them apart. You're not expected to have it all figured out. You're expected to begin. The act of moving shapes the path. Opportunity doesn't stay loyal to the thinker. It stays loyal to the mover. It rewards those bold enough to leap even in uncertainty. It bows to urgency, never to hesitation. Think of how many ideas have died in notebooks, how many dreams expired while their owners waited. You might be holding $1 million idea right now, but if it never leaves your head, it's worth nothing. Action turns ideas into income. Motion turns desire into destiny. So start now. Not when it's perfect. Not when you're confident. Not when others approve. Now. Build something. Write the first page. Launch the rough draft. Make the awkward call. Because the cost of delay is always greater than the discomfort of imperfect action. In 5 years, you won't regret the risks you took. You'll regret the chances you ignored. The words left unwritten. The moves never made. The life unlived. Those are the real regrets. Momentum is born from doing. Self-respect rises when you act boldly. And over time, you begin to trust yourself. Not because you always succeed, but because you always move. You become known not as the man who waits, but as the one who builds. That identity changes everything. People follow movers. Doors open for doers. Confidence grows in the one who executes daily. Not just thinks, not just plans, but acts. So stop waiting. Stop debating. Stop dressing up excuses in clever words. Start. Begin messy. Begin afraid. But begin. Let the world watch you grow in real time. Let failure refine you, not define you. Let urgency replace hesitation, because action always wins. In the end, life doesn't reward the man who waits. It rewards the one with courageous follow-through. You already have enough. You know enough, and you are enough. The only thing missing is motion. What if today was the day you acted? What if you walked through fear, sent the proposal, or started the project? Wouldn't it be better to fail moving forward than to succeed standing still? The clock is ticking, the window is closing. Act now, before the door shuts quietly and forever. Every day you hesitate, you feed doubt. But each time you act as if nothing can stop you, you shift reality. The world doesn't move for the hesitant, it moves for the bold. So stand tall, speak with certainty, and walk into your future as if it already belongs to you. Train your mind, your body, and your spirit to lead with power. The truth is simple. Once you decide you cannot be stopped, nothing truly can. Keep going. Wishing you health, happiness, and remember to subscribe to my channel, Mindset Daily.